It starts in the quiet moments, when the house finally exhales at the end of the day. The dishwasher hums softly in the background, a clock ticks in the hallway, and you're sinking into the couch, one eye on your phone, the other on whatever is left of your evening. And then, your cat freezes. He was grooming his paw a second ago, or lazily circling your legs in the kitchen, but now he's a statue. Body rigid, whiskers forward, pupils suddenly wide, locked onto nothing. At least, nothing you can see. A blank patch of wall, the corner of the ceiling, an empty doorway that suddenly looks much less friendly in the half-light. You feel the atmosphere shift, almost imperceptibly. The room is the same, and yet it isn't. "Okay, buddy, what are you looking at?" You murmur, half amused, half uneasy. His tail tip twitches once. He doesn't blink. Maybe you make the same joke you always do. "Don't do that. You were freaking me out. Is there a ghost or something?" You chuckle, trying to shake off that tiny shiver that walks up your spine, but your eyes keep darting back to that perfectly normal, completely uninteresting piece of wall. Right now, in this ordinary room, something extraordinary is happening. Not outside of reality, but deep inside it. Your cat is moving through the same. Yet his experience of it is far richer, layered with sounds too high-pitched for your ears, vibrations too subtle for your feet, flickers of light your eyes don't bother to report to your brain. While you see nothing, his entire nervous system might be whispering something. You shift in your seat, drawn into his stillness. How many of these moments have you brushed off? How many times have you laughed them away as superstition, or pushed them down because they made you uncomfortable? At some point, almost every guardian of a cat has wondered, are they truly staring at nothing, or at something I simply can't? In this video, we are going to step into that question without fear, without superstition, and without dismissing it as nonsense. We'll look at what science actually says about how your cat's mind and senses build reality, and how those creepy, staring episodes can reveal a lot about their psychology, their emotional world, and even their health. As you watch, you might recognize yourself in another guardian, someone who started out making ghost jokes and ended up learning to read the quiet language behind their cat says. Before we meet them, pause for a second and ask yourself, in your home, where does your cat stare at nothing the most? The walls, the ceiling, or some specific spot you can never quite explain. The first time it really bothered her, Anna was halfway through rinsing a coffee mug. Morning light spilled into the kitchen, the radio murmured in the background, and the house felt ordinary. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet in her head. The water kept running, the radio kept playing, but her attention narrowed to a single point. Her cat, Leo, frozen in the doorway. He wasn't doing anything dramatic. He just stood there, body slightly crouched, pupils dilated, ears tilted forward like tiny satellite dishes, staring at the empty space above the kitchen counter. No sound, no movement, nothing visible, just that unwavering, almost reverent stare. Anna turned off the tap, suds still on her hands. "Okay, that was creepy," she muttered, following his gaze to the blank wall. Her mind reached for the easy explanation. "What is it this time, Leo? Ghost? Portal? Alien transmission?" She gave a nervous little laugh, but the air felt heavier, like the moment in a movie when the music dips and you know something is about to happen. Nothing did. After a long stretch of silence, Leo blinked slowly, shook out his fur, and trotted to his food bowl as if he hadn't just made the house feel like the set of a horror film. That disconnect stayed with her. It was the first time. At night, he would sit on the bed, eyes locked on the dark corner of the ceiling. In the hallway, he'd suddenly halt, whiskers quivering, as if listening to a distant signal. Once, visiting friends, she watched their usually goofy tabby narrow his eyes and track something along the bare living room wall, his head turning, step by careful step, following nothing. Why do they do that? A friend asked her on the phone later. My cat stares at the bathroom wall at 3 a.m. like he's seeing the end of the world. Anna had no answer, only that same mix of fascination and unease. It felt like standing beside someone who speaks another language fluently, catching only the occasional familiar word. They shared the same space, the same air, the same. Yet her cat was clearly tuned into a broadcast she simply could receive. And maybe that was what really unsettled her. Not the idea of ghosts, but the idea that reality itself might be bigger and more textured than her senses allowed. That Leo was staring at nothing, but at a layer of something she couldn't name. She started paying attention, really paying attention. Was there a draft? A faint reflection from a passing car? A tiny sound in the pipes? Sometimes she noticed small clues, an almost inaudible buzz, a nearly invisible shadow. But other times, there was absolutely no explanation she could find. Have you had that moment too, standing in your own hallway or living room, watching your cat stare like that and wondering, what on earth are you seeing that I can't? If you have, you're not alone, because what feels like mystery to us is often perfectly ordinary to them. To understand what might really be happening in those strange, still moments, we need to step out of our very human senses for a moment and try, as much as we can, to slip into theirs. The next time it happens, it's late afternoon. The house is quiet in that particular way. It only is between chores and dinner, when time feels like it's holding its breath. You were walking down the hallway with a basket of laundry when you see him again, frozen halfway through a step, body angled toward the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. Those same dilated pupils, that same unblinking focus. You stop. This time, instead of joking to yourself, you just watch. The light is softer now, coming in low through the window. Dust motes drift lazily in the beam, almost invisible. Somewhere outside, a motorcycle passes. The refrigerator hums. The world is full of small sounds you've learned to ignore. Okay, you murmur under your breath. What are you seeing that I'm not? You set the laundry basket down, slowly, as if you might scare the moment away. He doesn't flinch. His whiskers are slightly forward, not pinned back in fear. His ears are pricked, rotating just a fraction, like twin radar dishes fine-tuning a signal. You move closer, kneel beside him, and tilt your head, trying to align your gaze with his. At first, you see nothing, just the familiar white paint, a faint shadow from the curtain, the outline of a picture frame. Then, as your eyes adjust, you notice something tiny, a shimmer on the wall, almost imperceptible, where a passing car's windshield is catching the sun and bouncing a narrow strip of light into the room. It flickers for less than a second, then disappears. You almost doubt you saw it, but your cat's pupils react. Just a tremor, a micro-adjustment, and you realize he caught it immediately. You remember reading that cats can hear a mouse scratching behind a wall, or the buzz of an insect wings you can detect, that they see motion in a different way, tuned to the smallest shift. To him, that fleeting glint of light might have been a whole story. A prey to track, a pattern to solve, a mystery to decode. How many things do you notice that I never will? You whisper, not really expecting an answer. He shifts his weight, tail tip twitching once, twice. The staring doesn't feel so eerie now. It feels intentional. Like you stumbled into a moment of pure, undiluted attention, something you rarely grant your own life. While you read juggling emails and bills and notifications, he's here, fully present, locked onto a single dot in space as if it matters. And maybe, to him, it does. You wonder, how many times have you dismissed this as weirdness instead of sensitive? How often have you laughed it off instead of asking, what's the context? What's changed in the room? Is he staring at nothing? Or at a layer of reality you were simply not equipped to read? You find yourself strangely moved, a little humbled. This animal you feed and cuddle and worry about is, in some ways, far more aware of your shared world than you are. His mystery is stupidity or superstition. It's perception. Have you ever caught your own cat doing this? Frozen in place, staring at a spot so intensely that you felt a chill, or a pull of curiosity you couldn't explain. As you sit beside him on the floor, both of you facing the same blank corner, you realize something has quietly shifted. The question is, what is my cat seeing? What is my cat seeing? It's becoming. What is he trying to tell me when he does this? And once you start asking that, you can help but notice the patterns. Over the next few days, Daniel started paying attention in a way he never had before. The next time Luna froze in the hallway, he didn't joke, didn't shiver theatrically, and say, "Okay, that." Instead, he quietly muted the TV, leaned on the doorframe, and watched her as if she were the main event. The house, without background noise, felt strangely loud in its own way. Pipes clicked somewhere inside the walls. The refrigerator hummed, then sighed. A car passed outside, and the faintest tremor moved through the floorboards. Luna's ears twitched with each tiny sound, swiveling like living satellite dishes. Her pupils were huge, but this time he noticed. The rest of her body was loose, her tail relaxed, her breathing slow. Whatever she was seeing, it was fear. It was focus. He stepped closer, slowly, and that's when he heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping coming from behind the wall, so faint he had to hold his breath to catch it. Luna's eyes were locked in that direction, perfectly lined up with the noise. It clicked, quite literally. A tiny creature in the structure of his own home, maybe a mouse or an insect, and she was tracking it like a seasoned hunter. "Okay," he whispered, half to himself, half to her. "Not a ghost. Ray just a lot better at this than I am, huh?" For the first time, the moment felt less creepy and more like watching a musician tuning their instrument, working in a key no one else could hear. Once he saw it there, he began to see it everywhere. In the late afternoon, when the sun slid through the window, at just the right angle, little dust motes flashed and danced on the far wall. At human speed, at cat speed, it was prey practice. A shifting reflection from a watch face, the wobbling shadow of a tree branch outside, the flicker of a passing car's headlights bouncing up the stairwell. Each one became a miniature event in Luna's world, enough to hold her attention for long, still minutes. He started testing his new theory. When she stared at a blank spot near the ceiling, he turned off the overhead light, and the faint reflection vanished, along with her interest. When she fixed on the corner by the baseboard, he pressed his hand to the wall and felt the slightest vibration from the laundry machine on the other side. Again and again, the tone turned into something, as soon as he slowed down enough to meet her there. And yet, not every moment had an answer. One evening, close to midnight, he found her perched on the arm of the couch, gazing not at a wall, but at the dark space of the hallway, as if she were listening to silence itself. Her body was calm, almost meditative. He sat beside her and let the quiet stretch between them. No tapping, no humming, no visible reflections. Just two beings sitting in the same house, experiencing it in completely different ways. It made him wonder, how many layers of this shared home were still hidden from him, even now that he was trying? How often had he dismissed these pauses as weird, when they were actually windows into her reality? If you think about your own cat for a second, when they freeze and stare, what's usually happening around them? What sounds? What lights? What movements have you learned to notice, or maybe still ignore? Because as Daniel was discovering, there's a point where normal cat radar becomes background, and a point where sudden changes start to mean something else entirely. Alex leans back on the couch that evening, the room lit only by a floor lamp and the soft glow from the hallway. The house is quiet in that particular way, it only is at night, when the refrigerator hum, and the distant traffic feel almost loud. On the armrest, the notebook from the veterinary behaviorist lies open, half filled with awkwardly neat handwriting and little stars in the margins. Across the room, Luna sits in her usual spot by the wall, body a perfect statue, eyes locked on that familiar patch of plaster. But tonight, Alex doesn't feel that cold, irrational prickle of unease. Instead, they quietly narrate to themselves, almost as if explaining it to something. Okay, ears forward, whiskers relaxed, tail calm. They watch her chest rise and fall, breathing slow, not scared, curious. A faint ticking sound joins the room's subtle symphony. Alex leans forward. They'd almost missed it. The clock on the adjacent wall has a slightly irregular tick when the minute hand passes the 12. It's tiny, not something a human brain bothers with. But Luna's ear twitches in perfect sync with it. Alex smiles, a little smiles. There it is, your universe, right behind my wall. They close their eyes for a second and just listen. Refrigerator. Pipes. Refrigerator. Somewhere outside, a dog barks once and falls silent. In the stillness, the idea that Luna is staring at nothing suddenly feels absurd, almost disrespectful. It's not nothing. It's a layer of reality. Alex simply does have the tools to see. Later, in bed, Luna appears without a sound, making that soft chirp she reserves for invitations. She curls on Alex's chest, heavy and warm, purring like a distant thunderstorm. Alex lays a hand over her back and feels the vibration shiver through their ribs. Some days, Alex whispers into the dim ceiling, I wish I could borrow your senses, just for 5 minutes. See this house the way you do. Luna answers with a slow blink, then turns her head to stare at the dark corner of the room. For a moment, Alex follows her gaze. There's nothing there they can detect, no shape, no sound. But instead of unease, there is an odd, random kind. What is it? Alex asks gently. A tiny draft? A spider in the curtains? The neighbor coming up the stairs? They don't know. And that's all right. As they stroke Luna's fur, Alex realizes something has shifted. The question quietly forming is anymore, but what might her behavior be trying to tell me about this moment, or about her? And with that new question echoing softly in their mind, another one emerges, far more unsettling in its own way. If Luna's staring changed suddenly, if the pattern broke, would they be wise enough, attentive enough, to notice? That night, the house is quiet again. The TV is off, dishes are done, the hallway clock is the only thing ticking. Your cat hops down from the back of the sofa and pads slowly into the room, tail relaxed, whiskers forward. You watch, half expecting another low-coast moment. Instead, you see something else. A living creature scanning its world with a depth you were only just beginning to understand. She pauses in the middle of the rug, ears flicking toward a sound you can hear. Not rigid, not alarmed, just aware. Her pupils widen a little as she looks toward that familiar spot on the wall. But now, instead of your stomach nodding with unease, your mind starts asking different questions. Is there a tiny shadow moving, a distant car, a pipe humming in the wall? What information is she receiving that you cannot? You walk over and sit on the floor. The carpet fibers press into your knees. The air feels a degree cooler near the wall. You notice a thin draft you've never paid attention to before, whispering across your hand. A faint reflection from a distant streetlight trembles on the painted surface. So that's what it is, huh? You murmur. You murmur. Your secret channel. She blinks slowly, almost as if in reply, then bumps her head gently against your arm before resuming her quiet vigil. In that small, unhurried moment, the fear of nothing turns into respect for something you simply don't perceive. You start to realize that living with a cat means sharing a home with another reality layered over your own. To her, the world is threads of sound, vibration, light, and scent woven into patterns she's decoding all the time. Sometimes that decoding looks like staring at a wall. Sometimes it looks like chasing an invisible trail across the hallway. To you, it's mystery. To her, it's data. You don't have to believe in ghosts to admit that your cat experiences more than you do. And you don't have to understand everything she sees to honor the experience. What you can do is observe, notice context, track patterns. Ask, is this her usual focus, or is something different? Is this curiosity or distress? That shift, from superstition to inquiry, is where real guardianship begins. As you stand and turn off the last light, you glance back. She's curled on her favorite chair now, paws tucked, eyes half closed, the great detector of invisible things finally at rest. You feel a quiet gratitude that she is, in her own way, watching over the house with you. If your cat could explain those long gazes, what do you imagine she'd say she's seeing? Tell me in the comments. Does your cat fixate on walls, corners, ceilings, or seem to track something you can see? I'd love to hear your stories. And if this helped you see your cat with a bit more wonder and a bit less worry, let this video know with a like. And if you want to keep diving into this deeper, more mindful way of understanding feline behavior, subscribe and stay with me. There is so much more to discover in the quiet spaces where cats are already looking.